I was driving down the road this morning, making my way back from a meeting, and I got to thinking about direction, what it actually means to live on purpose. And for us as believers, years ago I read a book by Andy Stanley, and he talks about the principle of getting to a certain destination, and he says that direction, not intention, determines our destination. In other words, I never forget, I used to tell people this when I was a youth pastor, that GPS saved my marriage. I'll never forget one time, and this was back before GPS, back when we still had those MapQuest printed maps on pieces of paper with all the directions. And we were in Chicago on a mission trip, taking a group of kids. We were on our last day, we were heading home, but before that, my wife wanted to go see Lake Michigan, watch the sunrise over Lake Michigan. And I thought, this is a really bad idea, but this is my wife, she really wants to do it, so that's what we set out to do. And so our intention was to see Lake Michigan, but our MapQuest directions were far from anywhere to perfect, and they took us down into all these areas, and we got into a place where there was construction, and MapQuest didn't allow for the construction, and we were in a bind. And so our intention was to get to Lake Michigan, and it got to a point where I got so frustrated in the middle of this construction that I just stopped the van with a bunch of kids in the back, and I said, okay, Nicole, you're gonna have to drive because I can't do it anymore. And long story short, we did end up making it to Lake Michigan, but way out of the way, way out of the ordinary. And even though our intention was to get there, our destination was determined by our direction, and our direction took us a long way around. Matter of fact, we almost never found it, especially because we just didn't know where we were going. And I wonder if we sometimes go through life like that. We try to do life on our own, and we have these intention of doing all these things, of investing in people, of being this a believer who follows Jesus and all these things. But that may be our intention, but our direction isn't set because we're still just trying to follow our heart. And I thought about the scripture in Proverbs, pulled out my Bible from my backpack, and I looked it up. Proverbs chapter 16 verse 9 says, "A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord determines his step." And I want to encourage you today that wherever you think God is taking you, wherever the destination is, whatever you feel like God has called you to do, don't just set out on it with a kind of a, hey, I'm intending to do this. You've got to be on purpose about your direction. And the only way to do that, get in the Word, be around other people, have some accountability in your life, and truly do live on purpose. And that's kind of the goal of my life, is to help people follow Jesus better, help them to understand what it means to become a disciple that makes disciples. And I wonder what it is for you. How are you investing in the kingdom? Because, if we're investing in the kingdom and that's our intent, but our direction really doesn't lend itself to that, we're going to end up lost. We're going to end up in doing things that we should never have ended up doing. We're going to kind of end up in a place like I was with that MapQuest map, holding it out, thinking, man, I got to get out of this place because I'm just going the wrong direction. So if you want to determine your destination, then you got to make some goals. You got to have a set direction. You got to have the GPS, if you will, which is the Lord and His Word guiding us on the path that we want, because we can have all the good intentions that we want, but we're never going to get to where we need to be unless we're headed actually in the right direction. So I want to encourage you today to take steps in your life to put things in place that help you to head in the right direction so that you can reach the destination that God has called you to reach. Because if you don't, you're just going to end up maybe kind of getting by, maybe kind of feeling like you don't have a direction in life, and you're gonna feel not used like you should feel used by the Lord. And so be on purpose about listening to the Lord's direction and allowing Him to move in your life, and just see what He'll do, because He will take you to the destination. He will help you live out your God-given purpose. I hope this encourages you. You take it with you today, and I'll see you next time.